to episode 2 of What is Dead May Never Die.
What is dead may never die. Handshake. Yeah, forearm grab.
Welcome, all you thronies.
Aloha, everybody. What's up?
Thronies. I just made that up.
Thronies.
But thronies.
Nice. Not sure how the
You
thronies would take to that.
Oh, man. So we got episode 2 recap here. Another uneventful, somewhat setting up episode for one of the most epic episodes in the history of TV coming to you next Sunday. Kev, I know you didn't catch it, but the episode you have been waiting for is going to be here next Sunday.
So you're telling me those White Walkers have finally showed up?
Very end cliffhanger, one of the most epic cliffhangers there is.
Quality work by HBO.
Happening. All this shit's going on. It's essentially what we had in episode 2 was everybody is kind of.
So wait a minute before we get into that, Pags. The last thing I remember from episode 1 is we had the gentleman who was kicking the kid out the window, doing quite a few other things. He was seeing a bunch of people for the first time or being put on trial. So what happened? What happened with that?
So that's how it starts. Jamie is in front of the girl, Daenerys, who he killed her father.
Okay.
He's in front of Bran, who he pushed out the window. He's in front of Sansa Stark, who hates the Lannister family. Jon Snow, who hates the Lannister family. In front of all these people. Cersei's not bringing her army, and she's like, how do I know you're not a spy for her to come here, slit our throats, and then we're gone? And he's like, oh, that's a fair point. So Brienne of Tarth, who was his captor, vouches for him, stands up, like, Jamie had several times, he could have killed me. Several times he could have let me die. And he stood up for me. He armed me. He gave me weapons. And he sent me back to find Sansa and to protect her.
Okay.
So she's basically saying he is a good guy. And boom, everyone makes a judgment. And Daenerys doesn't really like it, but everybody kind of accepts the fact that, all right, he's part of us, he's fighting for us. He goes up to Bran, who's in his wheelchair, and he's like, I'm sorry for what you did. Bran's like, well, you weren't sorry at the time. But Jamie's like, well, why didn't you tell anybody that you pushed me out the window? And Bran's like, well, then you wouldn't have, what would that have done? They would have just killed you, and we would have had one less fighter to fight the dead army. Bran's thinking from a wide scheme, we need all the men we can get. Boom.
Gotcha.
So what? It's all forgotten, I guess, for now.
Okay.
But Jamie's like, well, what about
swept
after?
under the rug. You pushed me out the window. You're right. We should all fight to our deaths. All is forgiven.
Well, Jamie goes, well, what about after? And Bran hits him with, how do you know there's going to be an after? And it was like, oh, shit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Does Bran know that Jamie's going to die? Because Bran can see into the future, the past, everything. He
Oh,
can see
hey,
what's happening now. He's the three-eye raven.
That's a skill right there. Holy shit.
Yeah. Essentially what we have the rest of the episode is some hilarious takes by Tormund, who is a wildling, the redhead. He's obsessed with Brienne of Tarth, who's like this 6'4" woman, and he just wants to bang her because he wants to have great monstrous beasts that roam the world.
Nice.
Is what he said.
Pags, all I know is we're 5 minutes in here, and you're burying the lead based on what the internet's been telling me.
Well, so it gets around to it. Bunch of conversations that needed to happen. Arya Stark, essentially, she was, 8 years old when we started this show. We've watched her grow up, and we've finally seen her pop her cherry.
Let's go. How old is she in the show now? 16?
Probably somewhere around there. She ends up going up to Gendry Baratheon, who is Robert Baratheon's bastard, who she has had several... She's been on several travels with him. They left King's Landing after Ned died together. They escaped King's Landing. They have been on the road forever together. She comes up to him. She's like, how many girls have you slept with? And he's like, I don't keep count. She's like, yes, you do. And he's like, 3. And she's like, Okay. She starts making out with him. She's like, I want to know what it feels like before we all die tomorrow. And then she shoves him on the ground. She's like, you can take your own bloody pants off. And it was like, oh, shit, this girl's taking control of this situation.
So what was your reaction while you were watching it?
And it was like, oh, this is kind of weird. We've seen this girl since she was little, and it's like, okay, now she's naked banging a guy. It's like, okay, the show truly does go full circle.
Did you Google it to make sure she was old enough to do this on camera?
Well, you didn't see any nipple, you didn't see any butt. You just basically saw her from the side.
Gotcha. Okay, so they left her out of the HBO version.
Yeah, they're tastefully done by HBO.
So basically, you're telling me they go from our dear daughter banging to the White Walkers showing up at the end in a matter of like 5 minutes.
Well, in the last 5 minutes, Jon finally tells Daenerys that she's his aunt, because she's like coming down like, oh, you've been so standoffish to me, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, listen to me, I'm your nephew. And she was like, what?
We can't be banging
well,
anymore.
That makes you the rightful king of the king, and isn't that convenient that your best friend and your brother told you this? She's basically skeptical of the whole thing, and she's like, they could just be telling you this because they want you to rule and not me. And you kind of see a jealous side of her.
There you go.
Where she's like, you're starting to see kind of that she is not going to really... I don't know if her heart's in the right position other than she wants to be the queen of all queens. And I don't know if she's going to be able to take this thing that Jon tells her. But the second they're about to have a conversation about it, the White Walkers come.
I dig it. And how many episodes are there in this season?
6. There's 4 more.
So when do you think the climax comes? Because you know the last episode is going to be like a send-off, wrap-up, kind of closure thing. So do you think episodes 3, 4, and 5 are going to be the meat and potatoes?
I think episode 3 and 4, honestly, I was under the impression going into this season that it's going to be, once the White Walkers are defeated, whatever happens in between that, that'll be the end. But the way I'm thinking of it, I bet this battle with the White Walkers lasts maybe 2 episodes, and then the final 2 are them dealing with what happened after.
Okay, so what do you think's going to happen here with this battle coming up?
So here's my theory. The very final part of the episode, you see all these White Walkers lined up outside of Winterfell. But you do not see the Night King or his dragon. I think that the White Walkers split up their army, and they have a large amount of people at Winterfell, but after it, they're going to be like, after the whole thing is over, they're going to realize the Night King's nowhere to be found, and I think they're going to show the Night King going down to King's Landing to wipe out Cersei and her army.
You don't think the Night King's just chilling in the back because he wouldn't be at the front of the army marching?
Well, he's been ever since. That's all you've seen. He's been centerfold of everything.
So who's this guy that they showed then?
It was just a bunch of White Walkers, just a bunch of the other White Walkers there are.
Gotcha, okay.
So there's White Walkers and there's Wits. Wits are the dead people they bring back to life to fight for them. White Walkers are the actual, like, white, cold, zombie-looking dudes.
Gotcha. Okay, well, here's a theory that I've seen online, and I'll have to get your take on it, but one thing that I'm seeing out there is that the king on the White Walkers side is actually of Targaryen descent, because this circle thing that he keeps putting everything in that we talked about in a couple of different episodes is very reminiscent of the Targaryen flag, and thus he will actually be able to sit on the throne. So your prediction previously that you've now changed, or maybe not, you're just kind of getting there a different way, but is that he ultimately prevails and is going to be the guy on the throne at the end, and he's able to sit on it because he's Targaryen.
I always thought that he was a Stark because he was up north, and they actually show in season 4, they show him being created by the Children of the Forest. They stick a thing of dragon glass into his chest, and it turns him into a White Walker. So you see him being created. It's like a 5-second clip, but you see it. I think now that he's riding a dragon, because only Targaryens can ride dragons, I think that is very possible that he, in fact, is a Targaryen. Who he is, I have no idea, but only Targaryens can fly dragons, which is why Daenerys can fly it, and now Jon can, because they know Jon is a Targaryen.
Nice. I like it. So something to stay tuned for. But yeah, man, like I said, I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet put out there. The director said that this is the longest battle sequence that's ever put on film in TVs and movies, and it's the most characters they've had since season 1 at some point, and it pretty much beats the Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings 2, the Twin Towers in every facet, and that one was the most epic battle ever. So I'm pretty stoked for episode 3. Is this one only 45 minutes again, though? It could be pretty much the whole episode.
No, it's an hour 20.
So you're thinking, what, an hour's worth of fighting? What was Helm's Deep, like 30 minutes, 35 minutes?
From what I've heard, Helm's Deep took 20-some days to shoot, and that was by far the furthest. And I think Game of Thrones took like 50-plus days.
That's a ridiculous amount of time for an hour and 20 minutes.
They have brought this show to basically movie quality in the fact of fighting and the angles they shoot and the cameras they use. It's insane. I mean, the Battle of the Bastards was a ridiculous fight scene, and I think this one is just going to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait for Sunday.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to it. But I guess, do you have any last-minute thoughts, last-minute recaps going into episode 3, concluding episode 2 here as we say goodbye to the listeners?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be heart-wrenching. I think we're going to lose some
who's gonna die,
characters.
Pags? Go out on a limb. Who's gonna die?
I bet Brienne of Tarth dies. Possibly Jaime Lannister. I don't think Jon or Daenerys or any of them die. I think we do lose a dragon. I could see Jorah Mormont dying. Those are my guesses.
So you're saying we're finally gonna get some death here in episode 3?
You can't shoot a hour and 20-minute episode with the most fighting you've ever seen and not have some people die.
Nobody dies, but everybody in the background.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a bunch of randoms dying. I don't think that's happening.
Just heads popping off in the background. There's one. There's one. We beat the record. Woohoo!
It's going to be crazy, man. I can't wait.
Well, I'm looking forward to this episode next Monday then when we get a
You've been
recap.
waiting for it for 8 years.
That's it, dude. I'm going to have to figure out how to watch this one Sunday night.
I'll give you my HBO to go password.
Yeah, there we go. Playing the system as always. Shh, don't tell anybody out there. All right, everybody. This is Miho from Too Close to Call. We appreciate you listening as always, and this is What is Dead May Never Die.
What is dead may never die.
Handshake.
Handshake.
See you guys.
Later.